welcome to Books and Brews Light number 29. We are here with Tina Djuretic. Did I get that right?
You did. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, usually people have to ask me how to pronounce my name. It's almost always mispronounced, so I do my best. But welcome to Books and Brews. It's a delight to have you, and I think you've got a book with a really great message. So if you would like, well, first I would like to ask our viewers, please like, share, subscribe, and comment so our channel can grow so that more people can meet our great authors. And Tina, would you go ahead and tell our audience about your book and about yourself too?
Sure. So, well, the book and myself, they go a little hand in hand because the reason I wrote it, it is a memoir, so to tell my story, but I came from a really dysfunctional family, really abusive, mentally, emotionally, physically abusive. My parents joined a very fanatical cult-like church when I was 10. This just furthered our isolation, separation, and abuse. And I laugh. It's probably not funny to a lot of people that are living it. I laugh because, I've healed, so I can look at this without so much pain in my heart. But also just, you laugh at sometimes things that are inappropriate because that's how you feel. Right?
A lot of times it's a case of you're going to laugh or you're going to cry, so you may as well laugh.
Right? Yeah. Of course they joined a cult. Of course they did. And so then I moved out into the world as a young woman, not even a woman. I was a teenager. I was 17, just barely 17, still in high school when I left home. And I go out into the world as this very broken person. I don't know that, but I am very, very broken. And so I am seeking love as I'm trying to make my way in the world. And I'm not obsessed with love. I was sort of like, whatever with it. But in my heart, I really did want it, So over the next, 30 years, I have 3 major partners. They are all narcissists, which I don't have this language at the time, that's for sure, which I've learned way after the fact. But by the time I get to the 3rd one, I see that I have a pattern.
There's a pattern, yeah.
For it as well.
Can I ask you to give a definition of narcissism? I think it's a word that's used very freely these days and often to describe just anyone we don't like. But tell us what a narcissist really is.
So I'm not a psychologist. I can't give you a proper definition, but I can tell you sort of. I agree with you. I think this word is thrown around a lot and it's not used properly. Just because someone doesn't agree with you doesn't make them a narcissist. Just because they broke up with you doesn't make them a narcissist.
But if they disagree with me, they are. No, I'm kidding.
They're wrong. They just, you, darling.
Right. You must be a bad person. You don't agree with me.
A narcissist is someone who, they don't have a lot of emotional culpability. They really don't have sort of empathy. They're not capable of feeling things for you. They only think about themselves, and they will manipulate, lie, cheat, love bomb, trauma bond any way they can when they choose their next victim. Because make no mistake, they do choose their victims. A narcissist never dates someone who's not pliable, right? Because they can't.
They leave quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, so they test you in those first couple of dates to see if you are, in fact, pliable. And people who come from very broken homes will very often end up with narcissists or just toxic relationships. We can even just throw that title on it because you're just going to end up in bad situations. We do not, how does the saying go? The pattern repeats itself until the lesson is learned.
Yep, I agree. Can you explain how would you differentiate between narcissism and just selfishness? Is there a difference? Is it a spectrum?
Yeah, I do think there's a difference. And I think there's a spectrum of selfishness as well, right? That leads you into narcissism. So if we're going to go to sort of the end of the scale where I do something selfish today, and I kind of know it was a little bit selfish and I intentionally I'm going to do this today. I might feel guilty afterwards. See? Guilt can be there because you go, like the awareness is there and the guilt could could be there as well. Maybe when someone goes, I actually wanted to do that too, and you took my spot, and then you feel bad. If you feel bad, you're not a narcissist. Narcissists
Okay,
don't
that's a
feel
good
bad.
distinction.
Big distinction. It's the lack of empathy, sympathy, understanding, or kindness towards another person. Any kindness a narcissist is showing you is not genuine. It's all part of the game.
Part of the game, right? Part of the manipulation.
You bet. You bet. Yeah. So I leave this partner. I'm a hot mess. I realize I have patterns. I seek help. For me, I'm very spiritual, so I seek spiritual help. I go to a channeler, and we kind of walk through my patterns. We walk through my life. She kind of sets me on this path to healing and then says, now go, do, be. And when you're at it, I want you to write a book about this, because if you're going through it, someone else is going through it. Many other people are going through it, and your story is going to help them. You're going to find your own healing when you write, but you're also going to help other people who relate to this story to find healing. And that was really, for me, the catalyst that had me do the writing, because I've never written anything before, not even an article. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. And the only thing I had on my side is I've always been a great storyteller, verbal storyteller. So I knew that I could tell the story, but writing is not the same as talking. It really is not.
Exactly. The words are spinning through your head and they're so perfect. And then you try and write them and your mind goes blank. That happens to me. I wish it didn't.
Right.
One thing you mentioned in one of your interviews that I listened to, you were talking about negative talk. And I get the impression you got a lot of negative talk in your family growing up.
Oh, yes. One of the things that a narcissistic person will do is criticize you, right? Because they need to keep you down, and they need to show how powerful they are. My mother was bipolar. Her special brand of narcissism is bipolar disorder. So, really, every day there would be 20, 30 terrible things she'd say. Every day. It was a constant. I feel like every single day I was told I was fat. I'm pretty sure not one day ever went by in my life that I wasn't told I was fat, and I wasn't even fat. That does to your psyche, your belief about yourself. So I don't want you. I never wanted children. Parents joke, right? You were an accident. I never wanted children. It's funny when you say it once or twice in your lifetime. When you hear that every day, it's not a joke anymore. It's programming. Nobody wanted me. I wasn't even wanted as a baby. How could I be wanted when I'm not even cute anymore? I'm an adult. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Oh gosh, the damage that did on my psyche was quite exceptional, actually. Yes. And I didn't really realize how much until I started to heal.
That struck me because I think, given my experiences, I think even just negativity in general can really start to wear on you. And I learned that lesson. Don't be like that. Try and find something positive in the day. Try and find something positive in other people. Try and, don't even be putting yourself down. Because people get tired of hearing that kind of stuff. And I think it can really harm the kids too, to have to all the time.
Well, sometimes you see what happens there is as survivors of the situation. So now we go into our next relationships, and like you said, people are like, I don't want to hear this anymore. I don't want to hear about. So we tell ourselves, put it inside, bottle it inside. You're not the only one in the world. You're not special. So many people have had these problems. Why are you special? Right? We tell ourselves so many things. And our narcissistic partner is doing a really good job of doing that as well.
Agreeing with you. Yep.
Oh my God, right? Narcissists are very clever because they're going to go out with you. They're going to find out your blueprint and you're going to give it to them. Because they're going to go on a date with you or whatever, right? You meet them in the park and you're in the park and you chat for 2 hours. It was so beautiful and romantic. And oh my God, he just knew me, right? Like, no, you gave that to him. You talked about past partners and what failed in your relationship as you're both doing it, right? But what you don't realize, he is mentally making a list of things. So if you say things like, gosh, my last partner never did nice things for me. I never got flowers, not even once. You better believe this guy's going to bring you flowers, because
Okay.
given him the
But
blueprint.
only to start with, right?
Oh, only to win you, because you've got to win that. Let's go through my 3 partners. The first one, I loved him so much. He was my close friend. I was in love with him for 2 years. We did absolutely everything together. I was sure he felt the same way, but he always told me he didn't. So I was seeking love from someone who didn't love me back, unrequited love. I would never in my life have put him on the narcissist list, except for he kept me in that position instead of just saying right up at the top, we will never be together. Let's just be friends, blah, 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 blah. He loved the power it gave him to have me pining over him quietly, secretly in the background while trying not to do it. Do you know what I mean? We do that when we're in love with best friends, right? That's what we do. This is a form of gaining power from me, because he would do just something little. If he saw me look at another man, well, he would do something lovely to pull me back in, wouldn't he? Well, he's dating 20 women in the 2 years we've known each other. So do you see the manipulation there? Even though it was so subtle. And my whole life I said, you did that to yourself. You loved someone who didn't love you back. So you did that to yourself. And partially I did. You know what I'm saying? It was my first one. Well, now I've learned, haven't I? I'm never going to do that again. So I go to my next partner. This guy, the first one withheld love. So what does the next one do? He love bombs me to death. There is not a second that goes by that he's not telling me I'm beautiful, I'm sexy, I'm so smart. Oh my God, you can sing. I used to be a singer. You're so talented. Sing for me every day. Sing me a song, Tina. Do you see the love bombing? The first one withheld love. So what does the next one do? Bombs me to death, because he knew that's what I was lacking in the first relationship. Man, I fell over him for head over heels. 3 months later, oh, you're a coke addict. Didn't see that coming. Oh, 3 months later, I realized he's a coke addict. There's my second narcissist, right? 7 years of trying to escape that one. Let me tell you, that was classic case of narcissism. Everything he did, isolating me, making me move. You know, all my friends left me. It was so classic. I've learned now. Get out of that relationship. But now I've learned again. I'm now my early 30s, and I'm going, I will never pine over someone who doesn't love me back again. Next one, I will never fall in love with an addict or tolerate any of that again. I can spot an addict a mile away. I think I'm getting smarter. I think I'm growing. I think I'm doing great. My third narcissist comes along. So do you think he's going to win me by ignoring me? No. Do you think he's going to win me by love bombing me? No, I've learned those lessons. So he's going to go with the third tactic, trauma bonding. I also had a really hard life. My dad was like this. My mom died when I was 5. You had trauma in your childhood. I had trauma in my childhood. Oh my God, your ex was an addict. Mine was a sociopathic narcissist. Do you see how we're bonding over our trauma? You see how each of these relationships was so different. But at the end of all of them, all I'm thinking is, what kind of fool am I that I keep falling for this? Now I have shame on top of my trauma. And that's how it works.
Although I have to say, and this is probably something you learned, and I'm betting you brought it out in your book, you have to reach a point of going, why should I be ashamed? I didn't do that to him. I mean, for me, that's kind of where I got to, like, I didn't do that. I have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. You know, people can fool you, and that's nothing to be ashamed of in my mind, unless you fall for the same trick over and over. But
which often people do, right? Or they have a 30-year relationship and lots of kids or whatever with one giant narcissist. And then that's even like, oh my God, why did I tolerate this for 30 years? We shame ourselves, right? When we go into healing and forgiveness, the very first person we have to forgive is ourselves. It is exactly for that reason, because we do feel that shame.
Right. And I'm sure many, many people need to hear that. So I did want to ask, what is the difference to your mind between gaslighting and lying? I think that's another term that is thrown around and used to mean you lied, and it's
Yeah.
not just lying. So what exactly is gaslighting?
Lying is lying, right? I think we all know the definition of lying. So gaslighting is let me see if I can think of a good example. So gaslighting is when someone, they don't just lie to you. What they do is they actually flip the situation on its head. So if I come to you and I'm like, listen, you did this thing last night and I'm kind of irritated by that. You, as the narcissist, choose in that moment, which switch am I going to flick, right? Am I going to go into like scorch the earth mode, or am I going to go into victim mode? You know what? Victim's going to work better on this one, right? So now I say, oh my God, you did this thing and you offended me. And your narcissist goes, are you joking? And turns it around, and can often do it in 2 sentences, so that you just attacked him and you're going, what? And then they once you do the what reaction, they've already got you. Because you don't just roll your eyes and go, oh my God, you're trying to manipulate me. You go, what? And he goes, I got you. And so then he just keeps coming. And next thing you know, you're defending yourself and apologizing to your narcissist for the thing that he did to you. And then you walk away from that and go, oh my God, I'm so ashamed. I feel so bad. Here I was so angry at him for doing this when really I'm the asshole.
Yes. And I think there's a huge, there's a huge element to, do you know the history of the word?
No, I don't.
It actually comes, I believe it was a movie, I want to say as long back as the 60s, maybe even 50s. And I think the title of the movie was Gaslight. And it's about a husband who is deliberately working to make his wife crazy, to get her to the point where she no longer trusts what she sees. She doesn't trust what she hears. She doesn't trust anything she's experiencing. Tell me how you made the decision to heal. What do people need in order to reach that point of saying, I'm not going to be a victim, I'm going to heal?
I think we all have a different breaking point. When you reach, it's like an alcoholic. They reach rock bottom. They either decide to just die or fix themselves, right? So I think the same thing happens to us. We start to receive so much abuse that once we recognize the pattern, first of all, that's the first step. When you can actually go, oh my God, it's not them, it's me. Right? That was the catalyst for me. At the end of the third partner, I stopped saying, what is wrong with all of the men out there? And I started to say, what is wrong with me that I'm only attracted to that kind of man? There's a problem here. Why can't I be attracted to someone who's not like that? That's the key. And the minute that we ask those questions, the healing begins. Because your soul is just sitting there, just waiting for you to want to heal. It wants the best for you. Your soul is on your side. It's your soul, right? Spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it, whether you're a Christian or not or nothing. But we all have a soul. We're all ticking. We're all here. We're all living, right? Our avatar is alive. So obviously we have a soul, but our soul wants the best for us. It doesn't want to damage us. It's not against us. It wants us to heal. And the beauty is the minute that we say, something is wrong, I need to fix this, our soul goes, oh, thank God. And it steps in and it helps. It's not supposed to assist unless you ask. All we have to do is ask our team, spirit guides, angels, ancestors, whatever your team is made up of or whatever you believe in, they're there to help. But they really don't step in until you ask.
And I think that's important. And it's sort of like having, I don't know, an intervention. You can try all you want to get the alcoholic to stop. They're not going to until it's important to them.
Yes.
Do you have a reading ready to go?
Oh, I do. Do you want me to set this up a little bit? I probably should.
Go ahead.
I just kind of flipped to the middle of the book and went, I'm going to read this. So this is about halfway through the book, and I have, for the first time, because there will be several times. Oh no, sorry. I'm in Puerto Vallarta. My second partner and I have moved there. He is a timeshare salesman. That's what he does. He did, and he's just been found for being on drugs while we're in Cancun. So our boss has sent him home to Canada to rehab for a month. And I am reassessing my life because I have been left behind as collateral.
That's bad.
That's bad, right? Because the boss paid for the ticket and the rehab. And it was to be paid back. So he sent my ex, you're going home to where you're from. You're going to go to a month of rehab because I like you and you're a good guy and I think you'll be good at this. I'm going to pay for all of it. But she stays behind as collateral. She is going to replace you at your job and sell timeshare. And when you come back, you'll pay me back. And that's what happened. So that's where we're at.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And just there we go. Finding my sovereignty for our guest. So chapter 21. There are always things to get used to when you move to a new place. And what I remember most about Puerto Vallarta are the sounds. When you live in the city, you're used to the sound of traffic, construction, and sirens. When you live near the ocean, it's the sound of the waves. When you live in Mexico, it's the dogs and, believe it or not, the roosters that keep you up at night. Our apartment was on the ground floor, and right below our bedroom was a rooster belonging to the people that lived upstairs. Now, I'll admit I'm not exactly educated on the ins and outs of roosters, but I could have sworn that they only crowed with the dawning sun. I thought they were alarm clocks for farmers, signaling that it was time to start the day, like I'd seen on the cartoons as a child. For anyone who's as ignorant about roosters as I was, let me educate you. Roosters do not crow with the rising sun. They crow all day long. In fact, stop crowing. Not ever, 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 ever. Now, I didn't exactly, now I didn't really care how much that thing, how much noise that thing made during the day when I was at work, but I did care about how much it made at nighttime. When you're trying to sleep and it's going off every hour on the hour, it's enough to drive you crazy. Every hour, all night long. I'd be almost asleep when that stupid bird would let off this incredibly loud shriek, scaring the crap out of me. I remember the first night we slept in that apartment, I must have jumped 30 feet. I thought someone had let farm animals loose in our room. I thought I was having a nightmare during a giant rooster. I thought Christian had finally snapped. As I laid awake night after night, I dreamed of all the ways that I could kill that stupid bird. Poison its food, strangle it and eat it for dinner, drop a rock on it. I had a lot of time to think about it. We didn't have a TV or a radio or a computer, so there wasn't anything or any kind of entertainment except my own dark thoughts. When it wasn't the rooster keeping me up, it was the dogs. For the most part, dogs and cats aren't considered pets in Mexico. Most of them live on the street, and the locals would rather run them over than domesticate them. It's heartbreaking. There were a lot of dogs, and they all looked hungry. I knew exactly how they felt. I was hungry too. At night, they'd bark, and as soon as one started, the other ones would join in until there was a chorus of dogs barking in every corner of the city. We're talking hundreds of dogs barking all day and all night. These were the sounds that were slowly driving me insane. The giant cockroaches that waltzed into my apartment weren't much better. I remember the first time I saw one fly through the front window, I thought it was a bird. I didn't even know the hideous things could fly. So I grabbed one of my shoes, but when I got closer, I realized it was not big enough. So I worried that if I missed, that I might make the cockroach mad and it would get, fly into my face, attacking me with its hairy cockroach legs. So I grabbed one of Christian's shoes instead, and I didn't even clean the guts off of it afterwards. Yep. And believe me, it was an epic battle to kill that thing, or at least to maim it long enough to scoop it into the dustbin and flick it outside. I figured that Christian deserved bug guts on his shoes after everything he had done. Yes, I was still pissed off. Every day that month, I plastered a smile on my face and I went to work when all I wanted to do was curl into a ball and cry. Every afternoon, I came home after not making a sale and sat in my apartment contemplating my life. That's all I did the entire time he was gone. I went to work and I came home. I didn't even go to the beach because I didn't have the energy. I also didn't have any money, so all I could afford was microwave popcorn, cheap bread, and bananas. I ate those three things every single day for a month. Then I'd go to bed and listen to that stupid rooster as I plotted how I was going to kill it.
That was an especially perfect rating. We've had chickens for about 3 years, but we only got our rooster a year and a half ago, and that was the first thing we learned. Luckily, the barn is far enough from our bedroom window that I don't really notice it. It is funny, though. We also have sheep, just a little bit off on the topic of what we think we know about animals. We've got we've got both rams and ewes. And the ewes, the ladies, they've got these voices like 2 octaves below, I don't know, thunder, and they're like, whoa, and you jump every time. And I can hear them. I'm in the room over the garage. That's where my office is. And I can hear them all the way up here. And then the rams come up to get their food and they go, meh, meh.
These gentle little things. Aw, with a big strong name like Ram.
Right. Well, actually, and his name is Ramses. The other 2 don't really have names because they're new. But anyway, so I got a kick out of your reading. And I like the fact that this is a book on a very serious topic, but you kind of put some humor into it.
Yeah, that was really important to me.
I think it helps people, number one, to read it, if it gets too dark and depressing, but it also gives them hope to say this person's been through this and they're still laughing.
Absolutely.
They're still standing.
It's really oh, sorry. It's really funny. And you probably know this since you do so many of these reviews. I don't know if authors have said this before, but especially when you're writing a book like this one, where the subject matter is pretty heavy. And when I first started writing, I was in my broken. I healed as I wrote, right? That's huge. So the very first version of this book, oh my God. It's like an angry teenager's diary, because I needed to get it all out. It also had no direction because I didn't know what I was doing, which is, I think, normal, but it was angry. Then when I went back and read it, I went, oh, good Lord.
Is that me?
Right? And I'm not even that angry person anymore. It's funny that she was the first person who emerged. Then it was like the 20-year-old wrote it, the next version, but there was some healing, some things changed. Then when I read the third one, more and more accusation was removed from my voice, and it came from a neutral place. And then by the time I was done the 4th or 5th version, because that's how long it took, it came from a healed place. And oh my God, if you read, which nobody would, all the versions, you can actually follow the healing just by the passages I removed, by the words I removed.
Yeah.
So it was fascinating to live through, to watch, and to experience both in own human life, and then from a book's perspective, how it changed so much.
So where can people find you online?
I have an author's website, so I am on social media. I don't have a huge presence there. I just don't have a lot of time, but I have an author's website, so it's called sovereignandsage.com. And on there, you'll find, I usually put these podcasts on here, and you'll see my memoirs up there. And then the workbook that I'm writing, the healing workbook, which I just handed over to my editor, will be out in June. So I will announce that there as well. You can sign up for my newsletter if you want any of that kind of stuff. And my book's for sale on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Wonderful. You can find me, people can find me at booksandbrews.net, obviously on the YouTube channel you're watching this on, which is at Books and Brews. You can find me at lauravosica.com and our sponsor, gabrielswornpress.com, which on the last program, I actually gave the wrong URL. And I didn't realize that until I was editing and I said Gabriel Sworn Books, but it's gabrielswornpress.com. I've never made that mistake, but first for everything. So yes, please visit our sponsor, and thank you very much for being on the program today. Cheers.